there's a lot of places that say that they offer professional liability insurance to trainers for online training that don't actually provide you adequate coverage. So you have to ask and make sure that the coverage that you're getting is going to cover clients that you have never seen in person and clients that are in different insured regions than you. So a lot of these policies will say, yeah, we cover online training. Well, when you read the fine print, you realize that they cover online training as long as you've done an in-person assessment with that person and they live in the same city as you or in the same state as you.
This is the Online Trainer Show, Trainer Show, Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.
So, Jonathan, what were you just thinking about?
Yeah, so one thing that I was just thinking about is I just came out of the washroom, and the reason why we're late recording this is because somebody was in there before me and taking a long time. And the name of the toilet is Everclean. So what I was thinking is, who in the world names these things? Because there's literally no way that tool, whatever you want to call it, that porcelain bowl can live up to its name. I know for a fact the guy who was in there before me for 20 minutes and then gave me a thumbs up as he walked out, I know for a fact that it is not ever clean.
He
who
came
makes
out,
things?
going in, he saw it and he was like, challenge accepted.
That's what I'm saying.
I wonder
Who's sitting there at the American Standard Corporation Mexico division and being like, we got to think of a name for this. And then they're just like, yo, it's the same toilet we've been selling for 50 years. They're like, yeah, but we got to figure out a way to make it new. Let's call it Everclean. Those Japanese making their toilets keep making them so good. We're just making the same thing, so we may as well just make it sound like it's fancy. By the way, have any of you guys ever used a Japanese toilet?
I have not. I have heard wonders, and my expectations are very high. So yes.
You walk close to it. Let me paint a picture for you. You walk close to it.
Please do.
Okay? You walk close to it. It starts playing like the sweetest elevator welcome music as you approach.
Oh my God.
And then you can set it so that it lifts up the cover as you walk close. So it's like, hello, and lifts up the cover.
Wow.
And starts to heat. Just subtly, but enough. Mm-hmm. But the really good ones have these LED lights on the inside of the bowl, so that as a guy in the middle of the night, you don't miss. It's not bright enough that it affects your eyes, but it's just bright enough that you know where to aim.
So it's like a raven there.
Basically.
It drops a techno beat.
And then you can have settings. So you can have different settings, like a male or female setting for how you want it to clean you when you're finished.
Oh man. Oh
really?
Man.
Maybe once this podcast gets its millionth download, maybe I'll get you guys a gift of a Japanese toilet. It really is. It really.
That'd be amazing.
It's one of those things where you're like, this experience cannot actually be that much better. I've been doing my thing, for a long time. It's kind of the same thing over and over again, give or take 1 to 3 times a day. How could this be that much better? But it is measurably better.
Wow.
It just radically heightens. Amber's mortified. So it radically enhances the experience, is what you're saying, Jonathan.
Radically.
And this is across the board. This is regardless of whether it's number 1 or 2. You're just going to have a better experience.
It's just going to be a better experience. It's just going to be a better experience.
That's amazing.
So today we're talking about boring legal stuff.
Oh yeah, do we have a topic? I don't know.
Carolina, Jesus. We had a topic I have notes.
Listen, I was napping, okay? I was napping.
No, I don't want to get in the middle of that. I want to say something before we get into anything we're going to get into today. That nothing that we're saying in this episode constitutes legal advice in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
This is pure information. Every single district, insured area, legal area, state, province, country has differences in how they treat the legalities, which is one of the reasons why it's so hard to educate on this kind of stuff, because we can't actually produce resources for you. But what I am, and so like the blind advice is you got to find a local lawyer, the same as you got to find a local accountant. But what I want to do here is tell you all of the pieces that you need that are globally applicable in terms of the legalities, all the boring legal stuff of running this business, and talk to you about how much it's going to cost, and then what questions to ask, and a couple pitfalls that you might run into, so that when you do go and hire a professional, it's dirt cheap. Because if you don't know what questions to ask somebody, A, you could get ripped off, but B, probably it's just going to take more time than it should otherwise take. And when you're hiring a lawyer, you're often paying every 6 minutes. Meaning that you don't want to dilly-dally in that conversation. Just like my bro there was dilly-dallying, which delayed this podcast. Like, you don't want to... You don't want to dilly-dally in that conversation. Like, you want to go to them and be like, all right, here's all of the information that you need. This is what I need. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you do it in the most cost-effective manner, and that's what we do with people at the Online Trainer Academy. We give them, like, the templates, we give them the questions. We, in many cases, as long as they're in, like, Canada, the US, Australia, United Kingdom, like the major countries that we deal with, as long as they're there, we give them contacts, too. But, like, we can't do it for you, but we can make it way cheaper when you do it. So nothing that we're going to say here is legal advice. Okay, let's get back to the nonsense for a little bit. And then I can get into my notes.
I just love how on task you are today, Jonathan. Like, it was just a big change for me. I did not expect that much coherent thought and expression this early in the podcast. Because typically what you're trying to do is sort of distract us from anything that's helpful, as we're speaking. So I'm just most of your time is spent changing the subject or talking about the Mexican squirrels falling out of the tree, the iguanas, falling out of the tree. So
it's a nice balance of sequiturs and non-sequiturs, you know?
Right. I want to share something with you guys because this is important. Like, this is a big change in my world. First of all, Kerto, I love your caption. We will circle back around to that. But you guys, I got my first fake Instagram account today. Like, as we're speaking right now, there's someone out there pretending to be Fitness Jones trainer. No way. Yeah. And I love it. This is my Fitness Jones training account. That's the name of it. And the spammer, it's not the right word. The scammer, I guess, the faker is using Fitness Jones Training .official. So that happened today.
Oh my gosh!
Right. So that
audacity.
And see,
I didn't check mark too.
Right. He's going to get the verification check because he typed official, or she did. I don't know, or a non-gender. They did. What I found out
that we operate towards these scammers with the utmost amount of respect.
Yeah. I don't want to
correct.
Yes, I don't want to disrespect anybody self-identification. Least of all, someone who could use my name to build another account. So I didn't realize this, but when somebody does this on Instagram, there's a protocol here, and I don't know if you guys have had this experience or not. But when somebody does this on Instagram, they will block the account that they've copied. And I never understood why people would always ask me, can you please report this person? Because I've seen it happen to my other friends on Instagram. But they'll block you. So when I tried to find the account, I can't find it. It says user doesn't exist. However, I have a second account on Instagram, and it's my Rincel Jones account. I do a lot of quotes there. So I'm actually following the spammer that built it. I wanted to see what kind of information was going to come out of the thing, so I just went and followed him.
This is great. It's your face. Can we show this to the camera?
Right? Yeah.
Great.
Oh my god!
It's my face. I think
they even got the Nike hat. They got
the Nike hat.
Smile.
All of it.
And then they've got. I mean, there's 87 people following this account.
Oh, already. I mean, they're doing quite well.
Winner. Yeah, they're doing quite well. They're building a good account. There's 2 trophies that says selection of the winner, DM for final step. Congratulations on your chance to get prize.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna DM them and see what happens while we're on this podcast.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I request it. I'll keep you guys up to date.
I mean, do they even put out like valuable information?
Well, I don't know because I had to request to follow. There's 0 posts.
Account. Yeah, there's 0 posts. It's a private account.
Yeah, so far. So I've been contacted several times today. Bro, is this you? And it's not. I didn't think it was you. But on the heels of that, the brilliance in what they've done here is that I'm running a contest. It was my 7th anniversary of Fitness Jones training yesterday. I put together a spectacular offer. I mean, it's a big deal. Like, the contest is a big deal. None of you are eligible to enter, by the way. Just want to throw that out there before it gets awkward on the podcast. But I'm giving away some of the Y bells. I talked about this on the last podcast.
Yes.
Giving away our friend Molly's book. And a month of training with me, because I wanted to go big for my 7th anniversary, whatchamacallit. So this person then creates an account that promises to announce the winner of my contest. Right. So I think that's really very clever.
It's pretty clever.
Hats off to you, scam person, whoever you are. You're doing it the right way.
I look forward to keeping you up to date with progress for the contest.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a lot of answers back, Jonathan. I don't know that that DM is going to get you any reply, but I love to hear what you got. And Keto's out there doing the good work of counteracting internalized misogyny. She's defending Cardi B online. Thank you so much for that, Keto. Like, how's that going?
It's going great. I mean, I do a little bit of work and then I get in on an internet fight. And then I do a little bit of work, and then I cuss out someone, and then I do a little, just the usual dating the life of Carol. Yeah, balance.
I saw the performance, but I don't know what they're actually saying.
Oh, everybody's comparing it like to the loss of their freedom. They're canceling Dr. Seuss and Pepe Le Pew, and yet we have this awful, terrible women like scissoring was the word they used on their performance in the Grammys, and I'm like, yes, because there was a dance.
Did they use the term "scissor me timbers"?
They did.
Yes,
they did. Like, yeah. It was like, and in the performance, like they did a dance step that looked like that, and it was glorious. And that's what I commented, and I'm like, yes, they did, and it was glorious. And I gotta remind our listeners, I am dating the mayor of my city, and these are local people to me who have a certain idea of who he is as a political person and who the perfect match for him should be. I am not that perfect match that they envision for somebody of his stature and, like upbringing. Like, I am not that, but at the same time, this wonderful, wonderful man of mine has never once asked me to tone it down or to simmer down or to quiet down or to not speak up. He said, he has been very clear. He's like, I know better. I value my life. I would never care.
I was about to say, as soon as he says the 2 words to you, simmer down, could you turn your camera front facing? Because I'd like to sell that as the undercard for the next MMA matches that come out. I could really make some money off of your reaction to being told to simmer down.
I'd also very much like to witness that in real time.
That'd be great pay-per-view. We can sell tickets to that, Jonathan. I still have contact with a few promoters from my Fortress days, from my R&B days. Yeah, so we can. It sounds profitable.
Did you guys have like a hand motion signal for Fortress? I feel like it was like the Sammy Sosa. It was
like it was like a 4T or something.
It was more one of these things. It was just.
It was the 4. It was
the 4. The 4. Because we gotta remind our listeners, because it's 4, like the number 4, Tress.
Tress, yeah. So a fortress being an impenetrable,
Yes,
monstrosity, and our musicality, therefore, was we were so good that no one could take us out.
I'm so
And then there
glad
was
that
four of us.
all of you have these things about you. That when you were an R&B star,
I'm just a huge star.
at
Just
the
a
Apollo
tremendous
Theater
success.
in-
It's tremendous
in-
success.
that Carolina is literally dating the mayor,
Right.
and that Amber's boyfriend is a helicopter pilot for rap videos.
Weddings. For
These
weddings.
days, I have to tell you the story about the accident that happened on the helicopter.
Oh my
What?
goodness!
Ooh. Dun, dun, dun.
A bird went through the shield, right, in the windshield, while he had two people behind him, broke through, and so he had to do an emergency landing at the Army base in Savannah. The bird was still inside and had the audacity to survive and fly away. And so he had was all cut up and all that stuff. And, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What exactly happens on a military base with a yellow helicopter lands? Is what I like to know.
A bird still squawking inside, people
bird
terrified, a cut up pilot, what?
Oh my God,
That's
that
fantastic.
just solidified my desire to never get on a helicopter. By the
There
way,
are
Thanks
so
for that.
many reasons why I don't want to get onto a helicopter.
Right. So many
And I
reasons.
didn't think that would be yet another one. But it is.
I don't. But Jonathan, we've got important things. Well, semi-important things to talk about.
This is pretty important. It's super boring, but it's pretty important.
Well, I think we spiced it up enough with nonsense that maybe the listeners will stay awake for the back half of the thing. And when you get really boring, I'll just interject with one of these clever OTA online trainer academy.
Or just interject with simmer down and see what happens.
Yeah, just simmer. Yeah. Well, only if Keto talks. Let me see. Just simmer down, Carol. Jesus.
Simmer down.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see how that works out for you.
Yeah, right.
My screen's gonna go dark right after. Jonathan, tell us stuff. You got a haircut. You're important. Share some knowledge. Yeah, share some knowledge with the people.
I will share some knowledge about legal advice, about legalities of online training. Before I do, I will say that when you become an online trainer, right, even if it's a side hustle, you are operating a business. You should act like you are operating a business.
Right. That's a good first step.
Most people do not.
Right.
The majority of people who train clients online don't follow any of these things. This is not me saying that you should not follow any of these things. That's simply the reality. They either don't know, or they don't care, or it's simply too much trouble. And this is not just like small operators. I mean, I've known CEOs of companies that have trained 20, 30,000 people, never with a hint of insurance. It's not a good idea. But it is the reality. That said, if you are going to operate a business, you should act like it. You understand that operating a business has legal and financial costs associated with it. Those costs should be incorporated into your cost structure. This is not an expense. Everybody's like, oh, I can't accept credit cards. It's going to cost me 3%. It's like, yes, you can, because businesses accept credit cards. So if you want to be in business, you need to accept credit cards. That doesn't mean you charge your customer 3% more. That means that you incorporate that into your pricing structure. That's just how it is. That having
Jonathan,
been said, yes.
Can I interrupt you right here? Because this is so. This is a personal pet peeve of mine. Have a drink. Personal pet peeve of mine.
Nice coffee.
Talking to
Really good.
it looks lovely, Jonathan. It looks divine. Talking to coaches who say things to me like, well, I don't want to add any more clients because then the pro coach system will bill me more. Or Carol, you feel? I think you're on mute, Carol, but I think you're I think you're agreeing with what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Carol. Visual aid. Always the always appropriate visual aid. Having a conversation with Carol here has become not unlike landing a DC-47. There's somebody on the runway giving you visual aids that it's okay to land the vehicle. Or in terms of I can say it now because we're so in terms of like I had some person tell me the same thing about trainer rides, right? Well, they only give you a blank amount of clients initially, and I sort of don't want to go over that amount of clients because then they'll charge me more, and I'm like, but you'll have more clients. Like, what am I missing here? Like, that's so important.
If I asked you for $10 in exchange for 100, would you take that trade?
Probably so. I got to tell you,
Right.
I'd give you $10 to get 100. Sounds like $90 profit.
Wait a minute. Let me carry the one. Yeah, no, your math checks out.
Does it compute? Yeah.
I was told there'd be no math.
Now, Ren, to that point, like the whole thing, like there's this thing that happens for me, and I'm sure that other people are just like me. That whenever, for example, because I was with Trainerize when I first started coaching, right? And I remember having like the free client or whatever, and it's great. And then the moment that you get a paying client, and they're charging you because now you're actually supposed to pay for their service.
Right.
The most fantastic thing happened for my brain. My brain was like, okay, so this next tier, you're already paying for the freedom to have up to 10 clients. You better hustle and get those 10 clients and get the most out of what you're paying each month.
You better get them.
And you do. But it's a perspective. You need to set yourself up to that mentality, right?
You
Jonathan,
do.
I have
There's
a question.
some issues with that. I mean, part of the issue is the pricing structure of the software, right? Like nobody, like there's a lot of psychology involved in that too, where you're just like kind of worried about. Like, you should never be worried about doing better in your business. But a lot of people, I think, are, which is like a deeper problem where they're worried that, it's going to be more work because I don't have halfway decent systems. So if I do better, I'm not going to be able to manage my time. The same type of thing, it's like, particularly software programs with pricing structures and tiers that are like not that well thought out. I don't even know what Trainerize is, so I can't even say that. But like that idea of like, it's gonna, you can have 5 clients, or you can have 10 clients, or you can have 20 clients. It's like, well, then you don't want to go from 10 to 11. So like, it's not a very well thought out. Like if anybody's feeling that going into it, to me, it's not a very well thought out pricing structure. But what was your question, Ren? And then we got to get into this insurance.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what do you think people think that you run businesses with no expenses?
Right.
Where does that fairy tale come from? It's just all coming in and nothing goes out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a larger systemic problem where financial literacy is not taught in school or in any kind of training programs to become a professional.
Can you solve that in 2 minutes for us here today?
Why is business and financial literacy not taught in any personal training preparedness programs? Why is it not taught really in university unless you go for it? Why is it really, I mean, kind of taught in high school in some places, but really not very much? I mean, that's the issue, right? So it's not that people don't want it to be that way. They just simply don't know. So they're doing all these calculations in their head, and they're saying, okay, well, if I get 5 clients, it's going to be $500. It's like, well, no, if you get 5 clients, it's going to be like $500 minus 3% payment processing, minus $150 a year for insurance, minus this, minus. It's like, well, all of a sudden now, minus taxes, which I mean, how many people really get into serious trouble because they don't understand that they're going to have to pay taxes at the end of the year and never put the money aside, and all of a sudden now they have taxes owed that's being compounded at 19% every single year, and now they're in a hole that they can never get themselves out of. It's a larger systemic problem. It's not. Anyway,
that made me sad.
Yeah, it's a real problem. So let's talk about all the legal stuff that you should have with all that other junk out of the way.
Do it.
There's basically 4 components of it, right? There's insurance, there's a terms of service waiver, there's privacy policy, there's a PARQ. So I'll start with the easiest one, the PARQ. You get that for free on the internet. Google free PARQ. It's a form that everybody should fill out. It's a physical preparedness questionnaire. if anybody answers yes to it, then they technically need a doctor's note, and like you should never train anybody if they check yes on it. When you send it to somebody, you should say to them, if you do check yes on this, I'm going to need medical clearance, like just so they know. And that needs to be sent with like a welcome package before you train anybody. The insurance, you need professional liability insurance, and you need professional liability insurance that is going to give you probably about $1 million liability coverage, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually standard. And it'll generally cost you about $150 to $300 a year. In some regions, it seems to be a bit more. And by the way, I say like $150 to $300. That's like local currency. So like, if you're in Canada, that's going to be Canadian dollars. If you're in the US, if you're in the UK, it's going to be pounds. The exception there is in Australia, it seems to be a bit more. Seems to be like 400, 500. So in some places, it might be a little bit more. But there's a lot of places that say that they offer professional liability insurance to trainers for online training that don't actually provide you adequate coverage. So you have to ask and make sure that the coverage that you're getting is going to cover clients that you have never seen in person and clients that are in different insured regions than you. So a lot of these policies will say, yeah, we cover online training. Well, when you read the fine print, you realize that they cover online training as long as you've done an in-person assessment with that person and they live in the same city as you or in the same state as you. Well, that doesn't really cover it, right? But you might go to your certification and get your insurance through them because they say that they cover online training. And then and the odds are very, very low. Like, I've never actually heard of anybody pushing a legal case against an online trainer, but like, if somebody were to push it against you and you've never done an in-person assessment with that person, well, all of a sudden your insurance is invalidated and it means nothing. So you got to read the fine print. Terms of service. You need a basic terms of service document that basically lays out just, this could be anything. This will have everything from like cancellation policy to how it works working with you, how long the engagement is, what the pricing structure is, and then you should have a liability waiver as part of that. So basically, anybody who works with you waives all liability. And again, this is something like Online Trainer Academy students get a form that they basically make their own as part of the academy. But then we still recommend that you get it checked by a lawyer. And like, again, most don't. Like, we know this. What we provide you is probably good enough, but we don't guarantee that it's good enough because the fine print legalese is always going to be a little bit different no matter where you are. And there's literally no way for us to do this. And then the other piece that is really, really important is a privacy policy. And so privacy policy, if you're not asking the client to submit any information about themselves, you don't need it. But if you're asking a client to submit any kind of data or tracking metrics, like sets and reps even, if you're asking them to submit pictures, you need a privacy policy that lays out exactly how you're going to store and protect that data. And again, this is just like a form that they either check off or digitally sign. And you can use like a hello sign, any of those. Some of the software programs have this stuff built into it. Most don't. They should, but most don't. And then the final piece of it is if you are adding a new service or changing your service in any way, you need to let your insurance company know and document that you let them know, because it could actually affect your coverage. It might change the rate, but it could actually also affect like whether or not you're covered. And I'll give you an example of this. I mean, we have, as part of my company, we have professional liability insurance that covers everything that we do. So like all of the content we've produced, like back to 2011, is covered, for example. The Online Trainer Academy is covered. Well, when we started Online Trainer Coaching, all of a sudden now we're producing a different service. We're producing a fitness coaching service. Mm-hmm. So we called our insurance company and said, we want to do this. We figured it would probably increase our rate. And long story short, they couldn't cover us anymore. So we actually had to go find another insurance provider. And we dumped the original one, and picked up all of our insurance with a new insurance provider. And so I can tell you that, like, this is a pretty big pain in the butt. Like, it is. I get it, because I've done it. It's a nightmare, but it's worth doing if for no other reason that it helps you sleep better at night. Like, I don't want to be in a business, I don't want to run a business where I'm worried that one day I'm going to get a letter in the mail, or I'm going to get an email, and it's just going to turn my world upside down. And it's never happened to me, don't get me wrong. But I don't even want that worry, you know? Even though I know that I'm doing nothing wrong. Like, some people are just litigious. When you're in a position like I am, where you're selling to tens of thousands of people every year, odds are you are going to encounter a litigious person who feels like they've been wronged at some point in a decade. You know, it doesn't even matter what you do. And so I want to sleep good at night. And I mean, we pay thousands of dollars a year for insurance just because our business is bigger. But, like, that's kind of what you need to know about being covered. So you've got professional liability insurance. You've got your terms of service that includes your liability waiver. You've got your privacy policy, and you've got your POQ. Most people have none of those. That's the reality. It's not recommended, but that's all the boring legal stuff you kind of need to know.
The irony of all of this is that if something goes off the rails, like, it'll never happen when you're making $1,500 a month from clients. Like, that's never when it's going to happen. You know, 10, 12, 15 years in, you know, when you got other coaches working for you, you making $10,000 a month.
Right.
Yeah.
That's from 2005. So it just makes more sense to take care of it, because you may be feeling out there in podcasting, I'm just not on that level. Nobody knows me. You know, I've got like 2 clients. Go ahead and do it now.
Yeah.
just get it out of the way, because it's not going to happen now. No. You're not a big enough target yet. You're not as famous as I am. Nobody's copying you on Instagram and gathering up followers.
Deleted.
Yeah,
I think it's deleted.
A lot of people told me they reported it. You know what they said? They said, "Oh, I already reported it because the way that the bio was written didn't sound like you. There was nothing funny in the bio."
Oh, nice.
That's great.
And it didn't look like any of my language. But, you know, once you're Instagram famous to the extent I am, you've got like hundreds of people following you. Hundreds, if not dozens. That's when you'll run into these issues that'll come back to bite you in the booty, man. And you don't want that. It's do it now while your business is really simple, and you can get in on an entry level with your insurance, and you don't need a lot of people in an organization to help manage it. And just get used to it, man. Get the reps of handling your legal business, because it's so much easier as you grow. You get too big, man. It gets more challenging. It just gets
and the other thing, you have to. I mean, somebody can. I don't even know what the timeline is, but like, somebody can press charges against you for actions taken like X amount of years back.
Yeah.
So, you know, you might become a target in 5 years, and somebody 4 years ago was like, okay, well, now I can, you know, take him out. Not take him out, but like, none of this is to worry you. Like I said, I've literally never heard of an example where anybody has pushed any kind of a lawsuit against an online trainer. I have heard examples where people have pushed lawsuits against gyms doing online training. And there was one case in the UK where somebody who did fitness stuff online, but like, they were so far over the edge of malpractice that, like, you would just laugh at how far over the edge was. So like, I've never heard of a case where the trainer was like doing work that could even be questioned whether it was right or wrong. Like, the only cases that I've ever heard of is like, it is so clear that this is over the line malpractice. But again, you know, I want to sleep good at night. And so having this stuff in order is worth it to me.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you look like you've slept here today, Jonathan. The last time we saw you, it was hard to watch. It seems as if you had sleep in between. You've got a little of the color back in your cheeks, sir. Your cheeks are a little bit rosier than they were the last time we talked. It was basically a Walking Dead episode the last time we interacted with you. So glad you've gotten some sleep over whatever. Oh, now I'm cut out and my camera's gone. And I'm back and I'm gone. And I'm back and I'm gone.
I'm missing Carolina Andren. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's
Oh my gosh.
because Amber, you're
here.
slow too. But I think we'll be fine because the system pulls everybody's audio in separately, so I think we'll actually be fine.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, well, good. I'll continue to talk. So I'm happy that you're rested. And this is good advice. You know, these are the vegetables that the online trainer children need on their plate for today. You know,
Yeah,
you want
don't get any business scurvy.
right. The business scurvy pops up out of nowhere. And you don't want that. So you need some fruits and vegetables here. We know you want the dessert of the USP and the dessert of, you know, how to build your Facebook group, but you need you need some nutrient dense online trainer show information.
Carolina, how's your kid's scurvy going, by the way? Did you fix that up? You spit some lime on their gums, or
My children are very healthy, thank you.
You guys were acting as pirates a little bit too much. Scissor me timbers.
Arr, matey.
Oh man, Carolina was depriving her children of any plant-based eating for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Jonathan had to call her out on it. But
all that I said was simmer down, and then she just the thing with Carolina is that when you do something like that, it just sticks her so much deeper in what you think. Like, I will show you. I am going to stick with my convictions and progress the scurvy to such an extent.
To levels not seen since the 18th century.
Not seen since the Portuguese were sailing their ships around the world.
Mother, the scurvy be upon us. Lean into it, children. Lean into it.
Make haste.
Make haste and lean into it. So we brought you another riveting episode of the Online Trainer Show here today. You're welcome, Planet, for solving all these problems. And again, we are not legal professionals, so we can't offer you any legal advice, but this is generally the things that you should be concerned with.
I have something, because I noticed that Ren has yet to go into our commercial. So please allow me to introduce us to our commercial in my best Mexican way.
Oh,
llévelo, marchantito, pásele el OTA, el Online Trainer Academy, que no le digan, que no le cuenten, lleve el OTA, hoy señora, venga, marchantita, pase.
Seriously, never not do that. Oh my gosh. I need that every episode.
I just don't know whether I want to buy propane or watermelons right now.
Why choose, Jonathan? There's room in the trunk for both. Oh man, that was so awesome. I need that every single episode. That was so gratifying for so many reasons that I can't explain. Oh, man. Thank you so much for that, Carolina.
You're welcome.
It is
to have the students who do speak other languages just send in the
Yes,
ads in their different languages, and us
That would be awesome.
that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, you guys
Yes.
do that. Lithuania, Romania, Uzbekistan, Amber at theptdc.com. You can send in that ad in your own language.
Well, Jonathan, it is the industry's #1 qualification for online trainers, the Online Trainer Academy, onlinetrainer.com/OTA. So it just makes sense. I've been so pleased to be a part of this epic production today. Where I think this is probably the reason that I've gotten to be such a big shot on the internet, on the Instagram. Probably a direct result of this show. And now I'm being copied all over the place. So Instagram, I expect my verification blue mark by the end of the day today, based on this alone. Jonathan got a haircut.
On your left shoulder, you got a little bit of dust. You want to just get that off?
Yeah, just brush the dirt off my shoulders. There we go. As in the immortal words of Jay-Z, I'm a hustler, homie. You a customer crony. I got some dirt on my shoulder. Could you brush it off for me? Thank you, Jay-Z, for that eloquence. Yes. So that's all that we have time for, thankfully, on the program today. Don't hesitate. Just don't miss a beat. Just go right over to our show notes. It can be found at onlinetrainer.com/podcast. And have a day, Planet. Just have a day. Have a day. Is it time for the jingle? Jingle? All right, jingle.
This is the Online Trainer Show. Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.